welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global. US President Donald Trump's confrontational trade and foreign policies have strained ties with traditional allies, pushing countries like the UK and other European nations to reassess their reliance on Washington and move closer to China. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is in China to revive diplomatic and economic engagement, signaling a broader global shift as multiple world leaders seek stronger ties now with Beijing in an increasingly multipolar world. Mahashweta Lala with this report.
US President Donald Trump thought that tariff threats would force nations to be subservient to him. But even while attempting to establish hegemony in a growing multipolar world, all Trump has done is moved its allies and partners closer to its competitor and an emerging power, China. Following Trump's threats to acquire Greenland and after delivering a speech demeaning Europe at World Economic Forum in Davos, European leaders are gradually realizing that US, once their most trusted ally, could not be trusted anymore. This has prompted leaders of many European nations to turn eastwards. The UK and the US president are now engaged in a bitter war of words. Trump claimed NATO forces stayed a little back from the front lines in Afghanistan, prompting an immediate response from UK slamming Trump for diminishing the role of NATO troops in Afghanistan. The UK also firmly protested against Trump's threats on Greenland, which resulted in Trump levying tariff on UK, an act later withdrawn. The UK also defended its decision to give Chagos to Mauritius, abiding by the ruling of the International Court after Trump called it an act of great stupidity. Months after visiting India with a huge delegation, British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer arrived on a 3-day visit to China. He leads a delegation of around 60 business and cultural leaders. Starmer is expected to meet President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang on January 29th, before travelling to Shanghai on January 30th for talks with local executives.
We are resolute about being outward-looking, about taking opportunities, building relationships, having confidence globally, and always being absolutely focused on our national interest. And it is in our national interest to engage with China. It's the second biggest economy in the world. If you take Hong Kong alongside China, it's our third biggest trading partner. There are huge opportunities to be had in lots of different sectors.
China, which has faced a setback in the business of oil after US captured former Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, sees this as an opportunity to claim its position in the changing world order.
Against the backdrop of a complex and volatile international situation, enhanced communication and cooperation between China and the UK, both permanent members of UN Security Council, serve the common interests of the two people and are conducive to promoting world peace, stability and development. China stands ready to take this visit as an opportunity to enhance political mutual trust with the UK, deepen practical cooperation, jointly open a new chapter in the sound and stable development of China-UK relations, and work together to make due efforts and contributions to world peace, security and stability.
The visit also comes after Starmer's government approved China's contested plans to build a mega embassy in the heart of London, rejecting the objections from some politicians who said the new building will make it easier for China to conduct spying operations. This visit is also the first trip to China by a British Prime Minister since 2018. Starmer had last met Xi at the G20 summit in Brazil on November 18, 2024. When asked if he would raise human rights issue with China on Uyghur population, Downing Street replied that the Prime Minister would raise challenging issues where interests and values differ. China has also been criticized for its treatment of Jimmy Lai, the Hong Kong pro-democracy media tycoon, who is facing a life sentence in prison. But Keir Starmer is not the only leader to visit China. Several other world leaders have already visited China to forge and expand their business relations. Finland's Prime Minister Petteri Orpo, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung also visited China this year. In July 2025, European Council President Antonio Costa and the President of European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, had visited Beijing. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is also set to visit China in February. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
In a major boost to the energy sector, India and Canada strengthened bilateral energy trade, including supply of Canadian LNG, LPG and crude oil to India and supply of refined petroleum products from India to Canada. Both the countries said they would promote and strengthen cooperation across the energy sector during the India Energy Week, which began on the 27th of January and will continue till the 30th of January in Goa. Both the nations also discussed collaboration in renewable energy, including hydrogen, biofuels, and sustainable aviation fuel, battery storage, and critical minerals, besides many others. Canada has LNG projects and is increasing production and exports of crude oil to markets in Asia via the Trans Mountain Expansion, that's the TMX pipeline. It is also advancing liquefied petroleum gas, that's LPG, exports to Asia via the west coast of Canada. Now, India is set to host a major diplomatic moment as Arab foreign ministers gather in New Delhi for the second India-Arab foreign ministers meeting. With talks expected on Palestine, Gaza, regional stability, energy security and trade, the meeting underlines India's growing role in West Asia. So is New Delhi positioning itself as a key strategic partner in a rapidly changing Arab world? Here's a report by Farhan Khan.
India is set to host a major diplomatic gathering as more than 10 Arab foreign ministers converge in New Delhi for the second India-Arab foreign ministers meeting on 30th and 31st January. The meeting, only the second of its kind since the inaugural edition in 2016, signals a renewed push to deepen India's engagement with the Arab world at a time of intense regional and global churn. Foreign ministers from Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Sudan, Palestine, Somalia, Mauritania, Comoros, and Libya have confirmed their participation. Saudi Arabia will be represented by its vice foreign minister, while responses are still awaited from Lebanon, Syria, and Morocco. Syria's participation remains uncertain due to ongoing domestic pressures. In total, representatives from around 22 Arab League countries are expected to attend. Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Aboul Gheit, a former Egyptian foreign minister and long-serving diplomat, will also be present, underlining the political weight of the meeting. One of the most notable developments is the attendance of Libya's foreign minister, representing the internationally recognized Government of National Unity. This marks the first visit by a Libyan foreign minister to India since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Signaling Libya's gradual return to wider international diplomacy after years of instability. The meeting will be chaired by India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, with visiting ministers also expected to pay courtesy calls on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Discussions are likely to cover key geopolitical flashpoints, including the Palestinian issue and wider regional stability. Geo-economic cooperation will feature prominently, especially initiatives such as the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor. Preparations for the meeting have already gained momentum, with senior Indian officials engaging Arab ambassadors in New Delhi to align priorities and expectations. Adding an economic dimension to the diplomatic push, India and Arab countries will formally launch the India and Arab Countries Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, or IACCIA, ahead of the main ministerial engagement. The chamber traces its origins to the 2016 Muscat Declaration and was further endorsed in the 2023 Delhi Declaration. Backed by the League of Arab States and key Arab trade bodies, the new chamber aims to institutionalize economic cooperation, boost trade flows, and strengthen collaboration in agriculture and industry. Taken together, the meeting highlights India's growing diplomatic and economic footprint in the Arab world, and its ambition to position itself as a key partner in a region undergoing rapid transformation. With Farhan Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
My colleague Pranay Upadhyay joins me for more on this. A big West Asia outreach, Pranay, at a time when we're talking about volatility, unreliable partners, particularly the West. It seems like India is not just a stable, but a continued partner of West Asia.
Absolutely, Geeta. And if you see, India shares historic link with Arab region, the West Asia region. And also, what we are looking at is the statistics, is a number of large number of Indian diasporas presence in the Arab region, especially in the Gulf countries. Over 80 lakh Indians are there. They are contributing in the building of the Arab economies, the GCC economies. And also, we are looking at a trade of $240 billion with Arab region. So clearly, in this time of volatility, when the world is looking at the multipolarity, India has emerged as a stable pole in terms of trade, in terms of policy, in terms of engagement with the Arab region. And see, despite all divisions and all the turbulences, India has enjoyed a good relation with Israel as well as the Arab countries. We have seen that how in recent past, India has concluded, CEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with UAE. India has recently concluded FTA with Oman. So India has deep ties with Arab region, and therefore it is a reason for Arab countries to engage and strengthen their ties with India.
That's right. Pranay Upadhyay, myself and the India Today Global team will be focused on that very meeting that is to take place on the 30th and 31st of Jan. Thank you so much, Pranay, for joining us. One of the countries which has stood up to US's bully of tariff threats is Canada. Following a strong speech at Davos last week and a visit to Beijing, Trump has threatened Canada with 100% tariffs. The Canadian Prime Minister, indirectly referring to President Donald Trump, said other nations are in the midst of a rupture and not a transition. And the great powers are using economic integration as weapons, tariff being a leverage. The US president reacted saying Canada lives because of United States, which Carney strongly rejected and said Canada thrives because of Canadians. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Carney said he stands by what he said at a global meeting in Davos. Speaking to reporters, Carney dismissed claims by US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent that he had taken back his comments during a phone call with Trump. Bessent, in an interview, said any move by Canada to economically break from the United States would be a disaster, and there was much more North-South trade than the East-West trade. Listen in.
As I said, well, first off, the President called me yesterday. We had a very good conversation on a wide range of subjects, ranging from situation in Ukraine, Venezuela, Arctic security. We discussed as well what Canada is doing positively, and this is the context of our discussion, what Canada is doing positively to build new partnerships around the world. I explained to him our arrangement with China. I explained to him what we're doing, 12 new deals on 4 continents in 6 months. He was impressed. And what we intend to do going forward, as well as the opportunity to, of course, move forward on CUSMA. You will note that Minister LeBlanc had discussions with one of his counterparts in the last 36 hours about some of the modalities and things on the way forward. But to be absolutely clear, and I said this to the President, I meant what I said in Davos. It was clear, it was a broader set of issues, that Canada was the first country to understand the change in U.S. trade policy that he had initiated, and we're responding to that. We're responding positively by building partnerships abroad, we're responding positively by building at home, and we're prepared to respond positively by building that new relationship through CUSMA. He understood that, and it was a good conversation, as I say.
So you didn't walk back your comments?
Days after TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance finalized a deal to set up a majority American-owned joint venture company to avoid a U.S. ban, users in the U.S. are accusing the social media platform of blocking uploads of anti-ICE videos. Reports suggest some users are already planning to leave TikTok, while other users want to delete the app. The users are not able to upload videos and messages which are anti-ICE and references to Jeffrey Epstein. According to a TikTok USDS spokesperson, US owners have not yet made any changes to the algorithm or content moderation policies. TikTok said the problems are due to technical glitches. Trump administration has come under heavy criticism for the manner in which it had conducted Operation Absolute Resolve and captured former Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio testifies before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and about the U.S. policy toward Venezuela and the actions against Venezuelan president, answering questions from lawmakers for the first time since the capture of Maduro. Soon after capturing Maduro, Trump talked about running Venezuela and controlling its oil.
Because in your testimony, you suggest that you would use force to compel cooperation, for instance, with oil sales. Do you agree that you have to come to Congress to get authorization if you were simply using force to try to compel cooperation?
Well, there's two things. There's the
it seems like
under the War Powers Act. No, under the War Powers Act, if we're going to be involved in something that's going to put us involved in a sustained way, we have to notify you within 48 hours after the fact, and then if it's going to last longer than 60 days, we have to come to Congress with it. We don't anticipate either of these things having to happen. Everything is moving in a very different trajectory right now. On the other hand, if we tell them we don't want to see drones from Iran, as an example, pointed at the United States or threatening our forces or our presence in the region or our allies' presence in the region, and they refuse to comply with that, the president does reserve the option in self-defense to eliminate that threat. We don't see that, we don't anticipate it, but it could happen. But we hope not. We don't want it to happen.
After Venezuela, Trump targets Cuba and Iran. Will his armada crush them or backfire spectacularly? From oil cutoffs to missile threats, carriers in the Gulf, and historic lessons from the Bay of Pigs. Let's find out what is unfolding in the Caribbean and the region. After his success in Venezuela, it feels like Donald Trump has tasted blood. And now he wants more, much more. He wants Cuba, he wants Iran. He says Cuba is failing pretty soon.
Cuba will be failing pretty soon. Cuba is really a nation that's very close to failing.
He boasts that a beautiful armada is floating toward Iran.
And by the way, there's another beautiful armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now. So we'll see.
He openly celebrates cutting oil and money lifelines. He openly flirts with regime collapse. He openly hints at force. Battleships move, carriers arrive, missiles, jets, air defense systems surge. Israel stands ready. Protest movements simmer. Sanctions tighten. Threats multiply. Trump smells weakness. Trump smells opportunity. Can Cuba and Iran actually defend themselves against a Trump who believes momentum equals destiny? And why does Trump even want them in the first place? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. This is not random. This is not impulsive noise. President Trump is emboldened by the U.S. military seizure of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro in a deadly raid. He now talks about running Venezuela under U.S. oversight. He openly vows zero oil, zero money to Cuba. He publicly encourages Iranian protesters. He threatens strikes. He moves carriers. He escalates rhetoric. The UN says the Maduro raid violated international law. Human rights experts call Trump's focus on Venezuelan oil imperialistic. Yet, Trump presses forward anyway. The pattern is clear. After Venezuela, Trump wants the dominoes to fall. But can they? Trump may want it all, and the world is now watching to see whether Trump's hunger creates a new age of American dominance or ignites the kind of resistance that humbles great powers. It is not about whether Trump wants Cuba and Iran. It is about whether the price of taking them becomes higher than even Trump is willing to pay. Thank you for watching Statecraft. That's all in this edition of India Today Global. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and take care.